first milk bottle you're going to use is pretty straightforward. Just cut around there, open it up. So basically you get something like that. And then this bit comes as well. The second one's a little bit more complex, but still pretty simple. So you're basically just cutting around the handle to create the funnel. And then you're cutting across the bottom to create your reservoir. And if you're making the greenhouse one as well, then after you've cut the handle off, you're just cutting down the sides as well. And that will insert over the top later, which I'll show you. And I've got the rope cut to size. Put a little X there, which we'll insert it into in a minute. So now you can see you've got the hole there, the hole there. You want this one pretty tight, just so dirt doesn't fall back down the hole. And then that's what's going to go through there. So that will go inside there, act as the reservoir down the bottom, and then that's where you can top it up with water. Normally I would put the funnel through the hole first and then slip it in there, but I just wanted to show you that I've made it a bit bigger and I sort of just squeeze it in there. I just don't want it to accidentally get pulled out once it's inserted and filled with dirt, because that would be quite painful to get back in. So now comes the assembly. So you can see I've inserted the rope through there, frayed it nicely at the end just so it wicks nicely. So firstly I'm going to insert this bit through. Now it's time for the water tube. So it's just going to go through one hole, two holes, pretty straightforward. There you have it, the little mini wicking bed hanging pot greenhouse. So if you do want it as a greenhouse, the bit you cut off earlier simply just goes over the top like that. There you go. Either leave the lid on or off, up to you, depending on how humid you want it. And that's what you're left with, a bit of scrap HDPE. If you're not going to use it for anything, you could just put it inside a bottle that you're going to put in the recycling, put the lid on so it doesn't come out, and then it can be recycled, but I'm going to melt that down into other bits and pieces in future videos. So this is the very first one that I made. You can see it looks quite good. If you look closely, you can see all the roots going down into the water. In comparison, this is another one I tried. You can see not nearly as big. This has nothing down the bottom, so it's just all soil and it's just very waterlogged. And then for a control, just one in a pot. So you can see similar sort of results, but then much better than just the hanging pot like that, with nothing at all. Here's a few tips on how to do it as quickly and safely as possible. Firstly, always be safe when using a knife. I find when I'm cutting this bit or all the pieces, that's 10 centimeters approximately, but I always cut it a little bit bigger with the knife. Trim it down with the scissors, get a few offcuts, but it's easy to cut it back to exact size with scissors than cutting too far with the knife in the first place. Same goes with the hole. Don't go too small with the hole. It's a pain in the butt to get that in when you're trying to insert it into the hole in there. If you make it too small, you can see there it's a little bit on the bigger side, just to make it easier to get in there. To get around that, I just wrap that rope, the wicking rope, around the pipe there, and that creates quite a soil tight seal. Another one is all milk jugs are not the same. You can see here that these two are quite different. So there's ribs, that's different, the spout. It seems to be this one's a tiny bit wider than this one as well. So if you are making them, always try and use two of the same jug. Just keeps things simpler and easier. Also, when you cut the little slot for the rope, I always stick a pen or something through there just to stretch it out a bit, because it makes it a lot easier when you're feeding that through the flared hole than if you're trying to force that through the plastic, because the plastic is quite strong. Also make sure whatever you use for the wick actually wicks water. Make sure your helper's not getting in your way. But you can see here, slowly wicking the water down into the sink. So always just test that just in case. And also make sure you rinse your bottles before you put them aside to wait till you stock them up, because otherwise they get quite stinky.